Hello everyone, my name is Beckett and welcome back to the channel. And today we're not actually going to be talking about Division 2, but don't worry, this is not turning into an Outriders channel. We are going to be looking at the game, everything that we know. I've been following this game on the sidelines for quite a few months and it looks very promising. Although we are not actually going to get to see the full game until April 1st, we are going to get to see a demo and actually get to play that demo on February 25th. So I really suggest everyone go out, try it, and maybe it will calm your criticisms and maybe it will just open up more questions that need to be answered. But if you enjoy the content, hit that subscribe, and if you like my videos, smash that like button. Alright, first off, before we get into the game and the criticisms that I have from what I have seen, I just want to get this point out that I am just looking at this, what has happened in the past with the looter shooters, with the live service. Even though they claim it isn't going to be a live service, I am speaking on the side of caution, and I've seen a lot of false promises, and I do not want any game to be bad. Actually, I want this game to surpass all other looter shooters. It's only going to make developers like Massive and Bungie just improve or lose their player base, and I am okay with that. If Outriders ends up being a better Division 2, ends up being a better Destiny 2, I will totally be on board with that, just because it's going to make Ubisoft, it's going to make Bungie think twice about how they release content, how they do things moving forward. I do see a lot of things that concern me, and I hope we can look at this with caution and kind of take a step back, because there is a lot of hype going around this game right now, and we have seen the hype trains go on back and forth for many years. I'm getting pretty old. I'm sitting at 34, so I've seen this go on and on and on, and ever since Destiny's 2 launch, I have just been like, no pre-order, not doing it, but I will test it out, and I will probably wait a week or two unless something totally drastic changes that has just got me sold on the game. Now, for this game to succeed completely, it not only has to borrow from other games, what Destiny has done great, what the Division has done great, but also build on these and make it even better than it was before. Because if they just come out with a copy and paste and we just end up grinding, we're going to do this for 6-7 months, maybe a year, and then we're just going to be done. And if they just release the same thing year after year, like we have seen with Destiny, like we have seen with the Division, it is just going to be bad for the overall genre, and it's not really going to build on anything. It's just going to stay stagnant, and it's going to be like, why would I do that if Destiny does that better, or if Division does that better? Now let's hop into the story, and this is probably one of my biggest concerns about the story, is we hear that there's anomaly, but let's just replace anomaly with the Traveler, and let's say we're going into crypto sleep. Let's replace that with us dying and coming back from a ghost. It has a lot of similarities to Destiny 2, and that's not bad, but if they just stay with the same story arc that, say, Destiny has done or the Division has done, it's really not going to really bring me in and feel like I'm immersed in the game, because I've heard this story before. I want to hear something new. I want to see something new. I don't want to play the same thing when I could go over to Destiny and do that, or I can go over to Division and do that. And the same thing, if they build on this game and make it amazing and the story is just breathtaking, then why would I go and play Destiny's story? Why would I play Division 2's quote-unquote story? Now, if the story does fall flat, does that mean it's a bad game? No, not necessarily. And the gameplay and the different aspects and endgame have a lot of things to offer, and the fact that they say there's no recycled content, there's not going to be any microtransactions or DLCs, I am kind of holding my breath for this. Even though there's not going to be actual recycled content from the campaign, there's going to be 14 expeditions, which are, if you're from Destiny, it would be like 14 strikes. If you're from Division, it would be like 14 missions that are going to be all brand new content of their own, and this has nothing to do with the campaign stories. That sounds amazing, but it also sounds like recycled content to me, because if we are just going to play the game, play the campaign, great, we're never going to mess with those campaign missions again, but we're going to end up playing these 14 missions over and over again. And the way the world tier system is built and how we're going to loot, there's a lot of different exciting weapons in the game, but are they going to drop from all locations, or are there going to be specific places to go? I really hope there are specific exclusive items to certain expeditions where I can go out and I have to go farm this, kind of like back in Destiny 1 when you had to do, I think the mission was like or the strike was called Will of Crota, and you would get this nice pulse rifle if you actually got it to drop, and you had to farm that mission a lot. And it wasn't amazing. If you were a big pulse rifle guy like I was, it was a pain to farm, and I think I did like 200 plus until I got a decent one that I liked, because it had different random rolls, and that was all part of the fun, and I enjoyed the different type of exclusive loot. And even when we come to like Division, when we look at the raid, the dark zone, the different aspects of that, where we have to go out and get the eagle bear, the ravenous, I really enjoy that, where I have to go to this certain place to get this amazing weapon. And if that's how it's going to work out, that's going to be awesome. But if it's going to drop from everywhere, let's say any weapon can drop from any expedition, I think people are just going to go the meta route, and it's just the way gaming is these days. Let's say people who are from Division 2, if the Eagle Bearer dropped from every mission, what would you do? You would probably just go to Lincoln Memorial and just farm it and farm it and farm it. People are just going to do the shortest expedition to get the best gear, and that's just not going to make it fun. And we're going to have a lot of different world tiers, and difficulty is going to scale, but are they going to add more mechanics, or are they just going to increase the health on the enemies? Now, if they're just going to health stack all the enemies and nothing's really going to matter, that's just not going to be that great. But if they have certain abilities, let's say you're in a world tier 1 where you get hit by it, you know what's happening, but it really doesn't do any damage to you, okay. And then it starts scaling like you would in Mythic Plus. Let's talk about World of Warcraft for a second. And that little damage spell doesn't really do much when you're on your +1 key. But let's say we get up to +10. Oh, that thing is starting to hurt pretty hard. And then you get up to 15. You're like, okay, that little tiny mechanic will completely wipe your group. I am all for that, being able to deal and kind of build around your team or your fire team, whatever they want to call it, your squad. You're going to build around that and say, okay, I need to bring a Technomancer. I need to bring a Pyromancer. I need to bring a tank, whatever it may be. And if they actually build around that and make the abilities actually hit harder, where you kind of have to think, how am I going to approach this situation? I think that would be amazing. But if they just health stack, I will be severely disappointed. Now, as of yet, as far as I know, they haven't really released any more information about other than just having endgame expeditions. Are we going to have like a legendary expeditions? Are they going to introduce some sort of raid in the future? I would love to see that. No, it doesn't have to have a raid, and the fact that it doesn't have PvP, that's okay, because games like this, they have a very hard time of balancing around these different super abilities, whatever, these alt abilities, whatever you want to call them. Like I said, it's okay if it doesn't have PvP. It doesn't need to have PvP. It doesn't need to have a raid, but it does kind of make me worried about what's going to happen at the end game. Yes, initially it's going to be great, but if we end up doing the same missions over and over and over again for a year straight, let's say there was no raid, there was no dark zone in Division 2, and we just started doing just missions all day nonstop. There's no activities, nothing really to do else out in the open world. We've already done that. We've got everything we need from that, and we just grind missions all day. Maybe it will be unique and it'll be fun for a little while, but after a year or so waiting for DLC or whatever comes next in this franchise, it can be very frustrating, and it might just push certain players away. I know I'll probably be okay with it, but even after a year of playing the same thing, I'm like, I'm going to go to another game for now. Maybe when an update comes out, we'll come to this. And then we think about maybe they'll bring in live events. Ghost Recon has done it very well. The latest one is very fun. I got to play that, and I was having a blast. Now, on the upside, all the gear and the different things we can do looks very amazing, looks very fun to play with. The different abilities, how we can insert different mods into our weapons, into our gear, and the talent tree that is so expansive that is just, we can do anything and we can switch out things at any time we want. That is so amazing. And for me, as a person who covers Division 2, I make about a build video every week, and I love doing different builds. I love trying different things. I love playing the game in a different way, and if it's going to let us do that and still be competitive at the same time. But then we have the downside of that, as well as, let's say it's just more DPS, it's the best role to run this tree, use that weapon. Are we just going to be stuck all with the same loadout? Let's say the Trickster, which is like a rogue-like class, let's say that is the meta at the moment, and all of us have to play the rogue, and we don't really have a choice, and you can't really get into groups if you do not play this with the right talent and the right build, especially when you get up to those higher tiers. Is that going to be an issue, or is everything going to be competitive? Are they going to continually balance as we go? These are things that concern me, although the gear system and the talent system look looks amazing, there are still things that I kind of err on the side of caution. And it's not me just being a pessimist. I'm trying to look at this as the most realistic perspective I can. Although I am probably a little jaded from shooter looters in the past from what they've done, it just makes me kind of second guess, especially with Square Enix. Although they were an amazing company, they aren't the best publisher, just like Ubisoft isn't the best publisher. Activision, EA, they're all evil. Some are just a little less evil. Now, just to close out, like, I really want this to be a great game, and these are just different things that kind of stick out to me and are big red flags. When they say new loot boxes, no recycled content, well, we're going to have recycled content. Are we going to have loot boxes or microtransactions after the reviews come out? Let's say 6 months when the game starts sinking down, just so they can pump up their revenue. Is that going to be a thing? I really hope it's not, and I really hope they stay true to their word. I'm not saying they are, but what we've seen in the past, and at least the last few years, developers and publishers have been a little shady on that side. And now when it comes to expeditions at endgame, like I said, I really hope that we have different exclusives from different expeditions where it makes us go to these different expeditions. I hope we have to do these different things. I hope it's not just like, okay, we did all 14 once on one tier and then we're just going to grind out every one. If there was a different way, a path to get up to the next tiers instead of just changing it, like, oh, you have to complete all this first and then you can upgrade, or whatever it may be. But I just really want a better path of progression than just, oh, I'm just going to grind out this one expedition until I can get up to the next tier and do the same thing over and over until I get to tier 14, and then maybe I'll do different expeditions, but I probably won't. Now, there are many similarities to Division 2 and Destiny in this game as well, and I hope that they just bring the best of it and then build on it, because that is going to be the most successful for them in the long run. The fact that they're not going to be doing any live service is a big plus, but what kind are we going to get? A DLC every year, every 6 months? What is it going to be like? I know it can be very stressful to release content like that, and the fact that they're delaying it, I think it is a good thing, especially with how Cyberpunk ended up. I think a lot of developers and publishers are like, yeah, maybe we should wait a couple months and make sure everything is fine-tuned. I'm very hopeful for that. I'm very hopeful for the gear and the talent and how the builds work out, and it looks very fun, a very aggressive game. The fact that the lack of health regen, unless you are actually pushing on enemies, looks very fun, and it fits my playstyle, and honestly, can't wait. But I'm still going to be on the side of caution. If I start to see more and more of these problems arise, I will bring them up, but I'm also going to bring up the good things. There's a lot of good things about the Division 2. There's a lot of good things about Destiny 2, and there's a lot of bad things. I like to highlight the good and drag them through the mud when they do bad things, just to kind of put it out there, because, you know, we've seen a lot of great shooter looters and a lot of good things come, and we've seen a lot of bad things come. But that's all I have for the Outriders. Make sure you go and test it out on February 25th. And as for me, I will be playing it. Let me know how it plays for you, how it feels to you, especially those people who have been playing shooter looters for the past 3, 4, 5, 6 years. You know, we've seen a lot of this, and we don't want any bad things to come from this. I think we all want a good game at the end of the day. And again, if you're looking for other content, I do Division 2 content. I make build videos, tutorials, Division 2 news, everything for old players to new players and everything in between. Thanks again for watching.